says we're going live.
Are we?
We're going live. It says we're here.
Okay, I don't know. I don't see anything yet.
The delay. My dude, the delay.
My life is a delay.
Same. God damn, same. Well, there went the monetization.
Hey, you know what?
At
At this point, just get it done and over with. You know, it's going to happen.
Hey, after 3 months, we earned another $100 on YouTube AdSense. So,
damn, I can retire soon.
I know. That's gonna keep 3 light bulbs on. So,
Yeah.
Thanks for that, YouTube AdSense.
Look, there we are.
Yeah, let's pretend we're here. Hello,
Hi,
Kill Lords.
John Brownstone.
BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have happy, healthy power exchange relationships. Wow. This is a weekly live stream. We record our podcast, the audio version of which goes out on all major podcast apps every Friday. Yes, that's the day.
Wow.
As of this moment of speaking, we are here 6 minutes early. If you are here for the live stream and you don't like idle chit chat, you got a few minutes. If you are here after the live stream, but before I put in timestamps, which is officially on my to-do list, so hopefully I actually get that done quickly, you should fast forward by about 6 minutes. So for the record, I didn't forget my name. I got distracted by the live chat and forgot how to say anything for a second.
She needs something, Silent. She needs something.
So, I'm going to try to say hello.
Okay.
Hi, Hammy. Hi, Claire. Hi, HM. Hi, Kitty. Hi, Tayshu. Hi, Silent. Hi, Pinky. Hi, DS Bunny. Hello from to Warsaw, Poland. I'm not sure. I know I've said it before. I think you even told me how to say it. I don't know how you want to say your name on YouTube. My brain is reading it D and Udi, and I don't think that's probably how it is said. But my brain has done that. So I would like to know how to say your name.
I would say Dan Duty.
Okay. See, we need some help, and we want to get it right.
Please.
Hi, Dorina. Hi, Kim. No, because if I had a teleprompter, it would have to sit close enough so that I could see it out of all of my glasses and not just the part down here that lets me read. So I'm not sure that would be helpful.
Probably not.
No. I pulled up the Reddit post that we're going to read from, and Reddit, I guess, has changed something, and so it's even... Oh, thank you. Okay, JB, you got it right.
Okay.
See, I knew my brain wasn't braining.
Thank you.
But, yeah, it's going to be... It's going to be a little fun to read the Reddit posts on the screen. It looked kind of... See, what I find hilarious about Silent and Tayshu talking about a crowd-controlled teleprompter is that anybody thinks that I would pay attention to the damn thing. Because here's the problem. If I focus on a teleprompter and making sure I say the thing on the teleprompter, you will get either a dead-eyed stare at the camera or you'll watch my eyes read across the lines. I won't be focusing on anything else. Nothing else. Just saying. So we're here a few minutes early. I am wearing my Not All of My Pants Are Sassy shirt to represent this particular color of shirt because I just put out a new shirt. We'll talk about it in a little bit. And I wanted to show off at least one of the colors of the shirt, and it fits well.
You put out several new shirts, no?
No, well, it looks like several new because they're personalized. Okay. I can make an unlimited amount of shirts, but I had to make examples so people could see what was possible.
Yeah.
Well, Silent, I'm pretty sure that fucking with me enough to make me look like kind of silly would not be a deterrent, but I also am not sure we would be able to have any conversations about anything if I was focused on reading out loud.
You know what, Katie? It wouldn't be the Kayla we all know and love, but it would probably be freaking hilarious.
I think it'd be funny for a few minutes, and then it would probably get tiresome. It's sort of like, could you imagine me with whatever all this is medicated? I mean, would it be better or would it be less interesting? I don't know. I mean, there's a part of me that'd like to find out, but I don't actually know. So, yeah. Yeah. I don't know if today's Reddit posts are going to make me rant. My blood didn't boil when I was reading them, but sometimes it doesn't. Like I'm a little dispassionate when I'm reading, and this
it takes some time to
I gotta talk about
in.
it. But I can't ever predict. It's kind of a sure thing, but I don't ever want to disappoint anybody. But I could kind of use a rant. I need to like clear the pipes a little bit. I need the there's a word. Oh, it's gonna be a long day if I'm already forgetting words. There's a word.
The cleansing.
Yeah, but it's cathartic. It's cathartic.
There you go.
See, I knew.
There you go. There you go. See? Goodness.
Yeah. I don't know. I have noticed that as my stress has increased, all of whatever goes on in my brain is getting worse. Can I remember a word? No. Can I string two thoughts together? No. How many times have I lost things in our own house? I just set them down and I wander off. Or what was it the other day that I was... After dinner, my job was to put away the leftovers because I had cooked. And then I was supposed to finish emptying the dishwasher for JB because he was going to do the dishes. And I put away the leftovers. I was very proud of myself. I put away all the leftovers. And then I wandered out of the kitchen and got to doing things. And JB went into the kitchen and I heard him doing dishes. And he comes back into the office. I'm sitting there working on something and he sits down. And that is when I go, holy shit, I forgot, didn't I? And he looks at me. I go, I forgot to put away the dishes. He goes, it's okay. I'm like, is it? Is it okay? Just oblivious. Just oblivious.
It ended with, I told her she owed me one.
I mean, I owe you way more than one. Way more than one.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it's afternoon.
12:01.
Brittany, I will answer your question real quick. I still use it. It's lasted for flipping ever. It's called mermaid wax, and they do sell at home, like they sell to professional waxers, but they also sell wax for use at home. Mermaid wax. It's actually I really like it. It's lasted a long time. Yeah. I mean, I'm only using it on my face now, but still. Okay.
No, we gotta wait. It's an odd number.
No, that's for finishing, not for starting. See, now my anxiety that can't handle being late because I have a parent who taught me that the worst thing I could ever do as a human being after lying is be late. Anyway, and we're late.
Anywho.
Okay, as you can tell, the topic for today's episode is a BDSM response. I got 5 of them. One is super crazy long. I apologize now, but it was like it was intense, and I was like, no, let's talk about it. If you enjoy this, we'd love a thumbs up. If you like it enough to want to come back for more, please consider subscribing. And
once you do that, ring that notification bell to get updates and new content.
Just do what Daddy says. That is a shirt you can buy on our Etsy shop under the Loving BDSM merch section, because that saying comes from this. But I think for anybody who's got a daddy or is a daddy, I think that's a good shirt. Just saying.
There you go.
If you really like what we do, want to help us keep doing more of it, get access to things that you can't get elsewhere, like a Discord server, like the absurdly silly video we recorded this morning that will come out before the end of the month, like Friday night game night, which is this Friday. You can join us on Patreon, patreon.com/KaylaLords. That's patreon.com/KaylaLords, or the link is in the description box. Okay, you can hit the button.
How about if I just click the button?
You can tap it. You can do whatever you want to that button. You're the daddy. That's how this works. I mean, not whatever, with the button's consent. But the button is also not sentient, so can the button consent at all.
Well, if the button says "click me," then
is the button
is that
the top? The button told you to click it, and you clicked it.
Well, either way, that means the button consented to being clicked.
True. But now I need to figure out its role in all of this. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
You ponder that and get back to us about it, okay?
You don't want me lost in thought. This will be a very strange episode. Either way, but stranger than usual if you let me go off lost in thought. Okay, so before we get into the wild and wacky part of Reddit, that is the BDSM advice subreddit, is this the moment I forgot to check the BDSM Am I the Asshole subreddit run by Rara of the Pink Kink podcast? Yes, I did. So sorry. I'm so sorry. I was tired last night. Anyway, off topic already.
Didn't take long.
I know. I did an announcement, a reminder that we have an Etsy shop where all kinds of things can be found. Currently, I just added a new shirt design that's personalizable. So I put examples up so people could see what it could look like, but it could literally be whatever works for you. It's a collegiate style, so the lettering that looks like a college or a school, right?
Yeah.
And it's your title or your label, and then it says established, and you give the year. So, like mine would say, submissive, established 1979, because that's the year I was born. If anybody thinks that's old, you shut your face right now. It's not old. But it could also be the year that you figured out that title for yourself. Like, it could be like established 2012, because that's when you figured out. Well, that's when I figured out I was submissive, right? Brat, pet, master, mistress, whatever your title or label, it's personalizable, and it's available in 10 different colored shirts. So, are there 2 purple to choose from, 2 pink to choose from, 2 blue to choose from? Yes, but there is also a deep red that's very pretty, and then other colors. But that link is in the places. I've had that sitting there going, I should really put that out so people could buy it if they wanted, for 3 months. So I finally did it. So there is that. If that is not to your liking, favorite our store, because I have other personalizable ideas. I just haven't gotten that far yet. So
Y'all are youngsters.
Oh, everybody in the live chats get thrown out years, and you're like, oh, you can tell them. I can tell them.
Yeah. 61.
Yeah. Somebody out there is older than that. Don't worry. You're not alone. So, yeah, that is the thing. New shirt design. I'm very proud of it. I can't wait to see what titles and years people put in when they purchase it, because I think that's going to be very interesting. So yeah, that's the announcement. We were asked a question in the live stream that I'm going to answer now because I will forget. Mr. Fisher asked when the last time was we checked our P.O. box last week. I'll be checking it again next Monday. So that was the question. And for anybody who didn't know, we have a P.O. box. I try to keep the address around. And yeah, now the live chat is just everybody's year. Yeah. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, so far I've got the...
of the years being shared. Yeah. I'm sure somebody listening to the podcast is like, nope, born before 1961. Okay, so let's get into these. Let's find out if I'm going to rant today. Okay, this one makes me a little sad and could be a very interesting conversation. JB hasn't seen any of these.
No, I haven't.
And
I
he's
just
looking at it now. Hold on. I want us to be sensitive on this one.
Okay, all right.
Title says, I have a spanking fetish, but a terrible ass. What are my options? So I enjoy light domestic discipline and DDLG. Nothing gets me going more than bending over a man's knee. Problem is that my ass is terrible. Flat, square, hairy, pimply. I'm trying my best to fix it in any way I can, but in the meantime, are there men that would enjoy spanking an ugly ass? Most of the guys I meet say they love spanking, and then clothes come off and they visibly grimace, and when I ask for a spanking, most avoid answering. I asked a guy directly about it, and he said a huge part of spanking for men is the attractiveness of the ass. Round, soft, thick, bouncy. He said that it'd be hard for a man to ever enjoy spanking my ass. Is this true? I would like to pinch this man's head.
Same.
Just pinch it off.
Yep.
Because are there people who have a visual preference? Of course there are. But no man will ever spank your ass because I find it ugly is like gross.
Yeah.
It is gross.
You asked the wrong person.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Yeah, you did.
You asked the wrong person. So, you know, for me, it's, you know, just give me an ass to spank.
I know what my ass looks like. Now, I don't have, like, anything oozing on it, but it ain't, you know, it ain't a 20-year-old's ass. I haven't been to the waxer in a hot minute, so it's not, you know, peach fuzz back there. My people are swarthy people. And you have got no problem coming at my ass.
No, I don't.
I worry for this person because they are describing their ass as terrible.
Right.
Is that because they looked at it one day and went, oh no? Or is it because some or many assholes went, no thank you? Now, if they're... So, I don't want to cast aspersions on a person's butt who I have never seen, will never see, and also have my own personal preferences in life. But all I could think is when somebody says it's pimply, okay, are we talking oozing? Like, are we talking open sores?
Yeah.
That's a medical issue, and I would beg you to please go get that checked out. Are we talking like any human being can have, like on your back or on your face, like just a zit here and there?
Yeah.
You know, if it bothers you personally as the one who owns the ass, like maybe look into, you know, special soaps or whatever. Go to a dermatologist if that's available to you. Sure. If the hair bothers you personally, a good waxer is the best money you can ever pay for, in my personal opinion. And I love my waxer and I miss her terribly. But before I ever waxed, and now that I'm back to being quite swarthy in some places, I still got somebody who's like, no, back that ass up. I would like to put my hands on it and other bits and pieces. This person has been around the absolute not right for them partners.
Right. And yet, you know, I can understand how they feel about that. When I was younger, at the time, over the course of time, not at the same time, at that, people that I were interested in were like, oh no, I could never go out with you. You are too hairy.
Yeah.
You have too much body hair.
It's like, well, thank you for making sure I knew about your personal preference in the most, like, hurtful way.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. I get it. People get to have their preferences.
Sure.
And there are absolutely people out there who care more for the visual than anything. Now, sometimes it's a legit preference. And sometimes it's because of issues where I don't want to insult people I don't know. This is where I kind of go back to, and I guess I'm just not built for anything casual ever, because when it's a casual hookup or a casual play partner, I feel like it, from observation, it looks like it's way easier for them to sort of like narrow you down to your bits and pieces and then, you know, oh, you have this thing I don't like, so therefore I don't like any of you. Okay, fine. But when you're genuine friends with a person, you care about them as a human being, either you don't even notice that and it doesn't matter, or you go, okay, yeah, I'm not used to this, and then you get used to it and you go, yeah, but this is who they are, and then it doesn't matter. And I just am like, I wish this person had said, I've always thought my ass is like this, or I've had enough shallow people tell me my ass is like this and now I think it, because that to me is the difference. There are plenty of people with what they might describe as a flat ass that get it spanked left, right, and center. I will respect a person's personal preferences and also be very unimpressed with anybody who's like, oh, I only want to spank an ass that jiggles in an exact way and has an exact circumference, like what then you only want to smack a very specific type of human being, and not all of those people want to be spanked by you, so I guess you've just limited your own options.
Yeah.
And it is a hard line to walk, because personal preferences get to exist. You get to like what you like and dislike
Yeah.
what you dislike. I think the difference
Well-
is between the inside thoughts that maybe are judgy and what we say out loud and being insulting to a person.
Right. You know, it's yeah.
And I also kind of wonder if it's like these people who are telling this person this, they only want to smack a certain kind of ass. How many asses have they actually smacked in real life? And also, I think somebody's mentioned it in the live chat. Are they only going after a specific age of person or size of person or I mean, I'm already less than impressed with those folks. There will be somebody that wants to smack that person's ass. You know, maybe the selection process for how they find a partner needs to shift a bit. Maybe they need to go look in a different pool of people. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think back to when I was in my 20s and much more insecure than I was in my 30s and 40s. Not that I'm fully secure now, but I'm much better than I was. If I probably would have struggled if I had known I was into spanking in my 20s, because I was very conscientious about my body. What that ended up sometimes meaning in my like late teens when I was a legal adult, but like, you know, 18, 19, 20, was I would pick the absolute most garbage people because I thought I couldn't do any better, and then they would treat me badly and say bad things, and my self-esteem was still in the fucking tank, worse than it was on my own without their help. And so I'm just like, you know, I'm kind of glad I wasn't into spanking at that age, because I don't know if I would have bared my ass either, or if I had gotten one insult from some dumbass who was not worth my time and attention, but I didn't know it at the time, if it would have like fucked me up. By the time I was like bending over for you, I was like, oh, here we go. Okay.
Right.
And you sure as shit didn't have a problem with it. The other thing is, I would like to see what I imagine is probably some crusty, dusty men telling this person that their ass is not attractive enough.
Right.
Because the people I have found off the internet who have the most opinions about their partner's body, if we were being mean and judgy, we could find about 85 things wrong, air quote, wrong with that person. We don't do that because we're grown-ups here, but I feel like we could. It's usually the one throwing the stone at a glass house kind of situation.
Yeah.
They probably shouldn't. Anyway, when we talk about the part that made me kind of go, is when they refer to their butt as being pimply. I'm just like, okay, are we talking open wounds?
Right.
And skin that's been picked at? That probably shouldn't be spanked anyway, in general.
Right.
Or you just got you got stuff with your skin. Like, there's somebody out there who will spank that ass. I have no doubt.
Yep.
Get away from these crusty, dusty men who are telling you otherwise. Because I'm pretty sure,
Yep.
Okay. This one made me a little sad. The comments of this one made me feel a little bit better about response this person might get. So here we go. Is BDSM holding me back from having a healthy and happy relationship? I'm female, 29, starting to think I have to let go of kink and BDSM. I'm struggling to connect with people who are either not into kink at all or are into BDSM in an exploitative way. My last long-term relationship in 2022 had an intense and wonderful DS dynamic when things were really good, but he ended up being physically abusive and emotionally manipulative. After working through so much in therapy and finally feeling secure in almost every aspect of my life, I'd really like to make a connection, fall in love, and have a healthy, lasting relationship. I'm putting so much work into meeting people on different platforms, going on dates, being open-minded, listening, and trying to adapt. Still, it's not yielding anything, and it makes me feel so lonely to keep putting myself out there like this. I'm finding men in the BDSM community talk a lot about communication and aftercare and all the books they've read, like they're trying to lure you into a false sense of safety, only to prove themselves to be selfish and at times very dangerous. I've tried to move slowly with dating kinky people. I'm emotionally articulate and have been so explicit and communicative about what I want and don't want. I take more time talking and try not to rush things with sex. But when it finally comes down to sex, it's like no one has listened and I see their true colors. So it's almost like I can't trust anyone to engage in a dynamic that is entirely built on trust, and I don't want to fall into an abusive dynamic again. I've tried to go on more vanilla dates / apps and have met really wonderful and kind people who are genuinely interested in me, but things don't match up in the bedroom. There's just this need for BDSM inside me, and if I can't have that, it makes me feel so alienated and disconnected from myself and my partner. I've slowly tried to bring ideas of kink into conversations or encourage them to express what desires they have. The more I reveal about myself, the more they think something is wrong with me, or sometimes they're really kind and say they're just not into that and don't judge me at all. Either reaction sends me into a shame spiral. It's just a vulnerable position to keep putting myself in. I've never felt so lonely and sad about my romantic / sexual life before, and it's really starting to get to me. So the questions, should I stop dating and try to reframe my body and mind away from BDSM? Has anyone found that they've never quite found the right dynamic in BDSM, so they decided to call it quits before it does more damage? Should I put more effort into more vanilla dynamics if I'm missing out on having a real and lasting connection? I feel like this person needs to take a damn break from dating just for a hot ass minute.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
They do not seem to be in the right mindset no matter what flavor they go for.
They, the first question there should stop dating and try to refrain my body and mind away from BDSM. No, you don't need to stop thinking about BDSM. What you need to do is you need to step back from dating, because whatever you're doing, the people you're meeting is not working. And you keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. That's not going to happen. You need to step back and take some introspection time.
And maybe just be by yourself for a while and figure. I mean, I don't know I don't want to I'm placing a lot on this person, but are you happy in other parts of your life? Are you connected to yourself? And so that you're outside of this, you're doing things that you love, you're pursuing your own interests, you're growing as a person in a way that makes you happy. Are you exploring BDSM as a concept outside of a relationship? Are you going to munches? Are you going to workshops? Are you learning? Are you meeting people without the expectation of a relationship? Because if you, I think it's worth, when you feel like the big air quote, like you're failing at something, I think it's worth taking a step back and thinking about it and deciding for yourself, is this worth pursuing or not? I would never tell somebody not to have that internal, whatever word I'm looking for, or to talk to friends who are understanding of kink. I feel like maybe those would be, you get better results that way. Right. But, and if the decision that you make is, I don't want to do kink anymore, that's valid. But I'm not sure that being disappointed in all of these relationship aspects, and making that decision one way or the other in the middle of all of this disappointment is necessarily the best way to do it.
Right. And what they're talking about there, the fact that they maybe should put their thoughts and energy into more vanilla dynamics. And you know what? That may be, but you say how important the DS life is to you. You can step back from BDSM, but I would almost bet dollars to donuts at some point, there's going to be some resentment coming up there that you gave this up, and walked away from it.
Or you just keep finding partners like she's saying in the vanilla side that are incompatible in the bedroom. You're just dissatisfied in the bedroom. Yeah. Even if it's not resentment, it's still an incompatibility that you may still have. And there's plenty of people, regardless of gender, but it is certainly very common among women, who say, well, that I shouldn't want that. They'll tell themselves, I shouldn't need that. It doesn't matter. It's not what I need to make me happy, because many of us have been taught that sexual desires and needs are not as valid as other desires and needs. And that's true for some people, and that's fine. But for some people, it is. It's about overall satisfaction with your life and with a partner. But quite frankly, I think it's time to just close down all the dating apps, get off of fucking FetLife, just go be a person living your life for a while. just because I think that's a different, you come back from that 6 months, a year, 5 years, I don't know. I think you're a different person in the dating world.
Sure.
You know, getting in touch with, this is what I need, this is what I want, this is what makes me happy. And the person who is allowed to enter that is not allowed to disturb my peace in that way. Right. They have to, I don't want to need them. I want to want them. And I think you make different decisions.
And, you know, there comes a point when, you know, and that's fine. You know, you want what you want. Okay. You'd love to have a relationship, and that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think there also comes a point where you become so focused on finding that, you know, are you enjoying what you're doing at that point?
That's a valid question.
You know, because you're so focused on this one thing, and, you know, are you having fun? Are you enjoying yourself?
Or is it work?
Yeah. So, you know, I think you kind of, you know, step back from the dating. Go to workshops, go to munches, not with the intention of meeting somebody, going out there and having fun and enjoying yourself. And sometimes you never know what's going to come along when you're just out there living your best life.
Right, exactly. And it's the thing you can't predict, and nobody can say, oh, it'll happen after this amount of time, or when you're in this, you know, position in life. Like none of that. It's random. It is chaos, and that is the frustrating part. The other thing, and I appreciate where she says, you know, I've spent time talking to them, and they're saying all the right things, and I'm taking my time. And I go back to a thing that a lot of people don't like to hear from us, and maybe it makes us old fashioned, and I don't give a fuck. Have you tried just seeing if these people, if you want to be friends with them? Because here's my thing. If we're talking about long-term relationships, if I don't want to be your friend, if I can't imagine just hanging out with you without there being a relationship, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. Now, that is me personally, and everybody has their own method and their own criteria and how they approach things. But if vanilla or kinky, you keep being disappointed, would any of these people have been friend material? Would any of these people, if you weren't trying to pursue a romantic or sexual or something relationship with them, would you have wanted to just hang out with them as friends? And if you cannot answer an emphatic yes to that, you know, I go back to you're in the wrong pool of people. Like something about the selection process, something about where you're looking for people, something about how you are interacting with people, and maybe, and I worry because this is very common, are you holding firm to your own boundaries? Have you created your own boundaries of I will accept this and I will not accept that? You know, I don't ever like the idea of blaming the person who is struggling, but also, as you said, we often get into repeated patterns of behavior. We do the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different outcome, and instead all we're doing is meeting the same kinds of people. Though the people are the assholes. I'm not saying this person is the asshole, but this person is not adjusting to something.
Right.
And, you know, it could be as simple as back off the dating of anybody and go get happy with yourself for a while. It could be as complicated as look for people you'd want to be friends with first before you ever worry about a relationship. All of it requires the dreaded P word. I don't like this word. Many people don't like this word. And that is patience. Patience sucks when you want what you want. I get it. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. You feel like you're missing out. This woman is 29, and she doesn't say it, but I remember being 29. I've known many, many, many 29-year-olds. I also have an internet access and can listen to 29-year-olds on the internet, and many of them / y'all have gotten it in your head that if you haven't done something by 30, you are somehow behind. I am 44. You are 62. We are still doing new shit all the time, and is part of this an internal belief system that she has to find this relationship and be on a certain path in life by a certain age, or she's somehow behind. That is a common enough belief that I can't, if I was in conversation with this person, that's some of what I'd want to know. Like, do you think you're behind in some way, that you have to rush this? Is that part of it? You know, because and I think of it because it's so common. And like I said, I remember being in my 20s, and it is rough out there in your 20s. Like, we've already got, you know, a culture and a society that is trying to tell, especially women, but people in general, that by a certain age, you're somehow like done for, and it's certainly younger than I currently am. And yet I've done more new and exciting and stressful things in my life well past the age of 30, right? And many people who get themselves past the age of 30, and certainly past their 30s in general, are like, yeah, life kind of just keeps going. It doesn't just stop because we didn't hit arbitrary goals that somebody else set for us, you know? So that's another place that my mind goes. So yeah, stop dating for a while. Just do shit that makes you happy as an individual.
Right.
It'll take a while. It might be difficult, but, get to a point where a person who comes into your life adds to it, and you don't need them, you want them. And that's hard to do. It was hard to do. I stayed in a not good relationship for a very fucking long time before I could learn that lesson. But yeah. And also, it sucks out there. The dating life is rough. I am so grateful. I'm not trying to date. I'm so grateful I don't have to worry about the apps. I'm so grateful that I can ignore every unsolicited DM in FET that's like, bow down to me or be my mistress. I'm like, did you read the room? Anywhere in here? Did you just like, it can be awful out there. Yeah. And I just think, well, why do you keep doing it to yourself then? Like, just take a step back. I don't know. I always feel a little inadequate giving dating advice as a happily married woman who doesn't have to go through it. So,
yeah, it's a I'm kind of glad I'm not dating at this point in my life. It's a whole new world out there with these,
and the way we as people in general, not as individuals, the way people sort of are allowed to and have found that they can behave online with other people where context doesn't matter, there's no nuance, ghosting is seen as acceptable. I'm going to be old-fashioned as fuck for my whole life. Unless it's a safety thing, I'm going to give side eye to ghosting. I'm just saying. For long-term stuff, not y'all had 2 conversations and you never want to talk to that person again. That's different. But I don't know. I think that the expectations for people who are trying to date online have changed from back in my day. I think the way we behave with one another, because it doesn't feel as real when you don't have to look somebody in the eyes, that has changed. Too many people want to be able to have conversations that can fit into a tweet, the kind you don't pay for. And I think it makes it harder and it fucks it all up, and it takes even longer and much more patience to find a compatible partner or partners. And also, I think Ella is going to now cry in the back. She's in here. I think she thinks she's trapped. So, okay. Here we go. Let's go into this next one. Okay. This one is super long. Okay. The title is Dom, air quote, soft limit, violation on second playdate, how to handle a sub. This comes with a trigger/content warning. This post includes descriptions of boundary pushing behavior and violations that could be triggering. Okay. I, 34-year-old female, am new to BDSM and just had a second ever dungeon play session with someone local I met via FET. I'm on the sub side. He was playing the dom role. I feel really shitty about it. It's clear to me my boundaries are crossed, but I'm having a hard time understanding how and why, and I could use some advice. Prior to our first play date, we both filled in lots of worksheets, listed out hard and soft limits. I got some references, etc. Relevant to what follows, I have a hard limit of using condoms for any vaginal, oral, or anal play, and soft limits on anal sex. Stating this was challenging for me, but that if sufficiently warmed up and in the right context, I was open to trying. We had a first play date after lots of negotiation, and I enjoyed it. We continued to text and arranged to meet again for a second play session. During our texting, he said he had developed intense feelings for me, and I told him I only wanted to keep it casual. He seemed okay. A few days later, we didn't text for 24 hours. He asked to talk about that, and we had an hour-long phone call to debrief that, which seemed disproportionate. I seriously considered canceling playdate number 2. I told him I felt anxious and was nervous to play with someone who might be angry with me, and he said, "Oh, come on." We ended the call with me feeling stressed, but then he followed up with a super reasonable, understanding, chill text message, and I thought it was all fine. So I went ahead with the second playdate. It was really horrible. And then this is where they say they get into the content warning that they mentioned before. We started rushed as he was caught in traffic. The first act was to ask me to strip down naked, and he attached vacuum pumps to my nipples. A first for me. We discussed clamps but not pumps. It was painful but tolerable. I was then asked to kneel and take off his pants and lick his cock. I asked for a condom. He said to then lick his balls, which I then did. He then rubbed his naked dick all over my face and lips, which I was keeping closed. I then said again, "Do you want to put a condom on?" He said, "Just kiss my head once," and so I did that. He then did put a condom on, and I sucked him. He then said to bend over, presenting my ass to him, and began to finger this person's ass. This was okay. Then he proceeded to fuck me anally, pretty hard and fast. This was now about 15 minutes into the scene, and I was not warmed up or aroused yet. I was finding it painful and eventually said, "Yellow, this is too much." He then changed condoms and fucked me vaginally without first checking in for a while. He then had me kneel again and put his cock down my throat until I gagged repeatedly, cried, and threw up. I did not have the ability to safe word, and he had not given me like a ball to drop to show that I wanted to stop. Next, he tied me up and shaved me. At least we had discussed ahead, but then slapped his bare penis against my vulva, which felt uncomfortable to me as he did not have a condom on. I didn't safe word though, because I had stated my boundary was around condoms for sex, and I didn't think to include that kind of genital contact explicitly. But now I feel upset about it. I have another partner, and I feel awful that this put her health at risk. At this point, I was feeling stressed out and wanted to leave, but didn't really know how. I didn't feel like I had the confidence and skills to deal with the situation. We were alone in a rented dungeon space. Alone? And while I didn't feel scared, per se, I did feel awkward and frozen, and ended up just trying to, quote, make the best of things and see if I could get the playdate back into fun territory. I didn't. It wasn't. Afterwards, he told me that condoms throw him off his game because all his other partners have not needed them because it's been based on trust. God. Or some such paraphrasing, and how he felt, quote, so bad putting that plastic thing in my mouth, the condom, that it, quote, must have tasted bad for me. So I think he was trying to sneakily get around the condom thing, which freaks me out. I finally then left as the dungeon rental period was over. I feel bad and like I did a bad job. I know it's on the sub to safe word, and I didn't. I do think he ought to have discussed anal up front, given that it was a soft limit, and doing anal as a first act with zero warm-up and no check-in seems uncaring at least. Also, after saying yellow, I would have wanted a check-in that wasn't actually a call for please really stop, but he proceeded with other challenging acts. The barrier-related behavior felt like, quote, the letter but not the spirit of the law. Sure, he didn't stick it in me without a condom, but he did rub his naked penis against my mouth and vulva. While he didn't seem angry, a part of me wonders if this playdate being so horrible compared to the first is related to him not getting what he wanted from me, intense emotions, a lot of attention, etc. Or if he felt like he, quote, deserved it or some bullshit. I know I'm in the sub role, but this didn't feel subby. It felt selfish and bad. Also, the session was maybe 95% sex and about 5% a spank or two. I like impact and bondage. This is why I'm seeing a play partner at all. So that just felt really misaligned. How, quote, normal is this kind of misunderstanding surrounding soft limits? I feel like an idiot for not being uber explicit about my soft limits and for not litigating all the elements of safer sex I care about, and for not safe wording and just ending the scene when I was hating the sudden and unexpected anal, or when I threw up on his cock in a not fun way, or when I felt uncomfortable that he was doing with what he was doing with me. He really should have a condom on. He texted today saying something like, I may have overstepped some bounds and I hope I didn't break trust. So I think he knows it wasn't okay. It's all feeling very bizarre. How do I practically make it feel safer for myself to safe word and end a scene early when I'm not feeling good without stressing it'll cause a bad, air quote, bad scene? For the confident, assertive subs, how did you get that way? And what tactics do you use to get out of a situation that's just off? I'm not going to play with this person again, but I don't even know how to think about this, how to process this, and how to move on. And yes, I'm seeing a kink-aware therapist and plan to bring this up. This was a lot. Yeah. This was intense.
It is.
What I the thing that comes up, there's a lot there that, you know, in hindsight, you can go, oh, well, you might have could have done this. Here's the thing. That motherfucker had a good first scene with her, got exactly what he wanted.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, there's a term for it when you switch like that. And that second scene was all about him.
Yeah.
And nothing about her.
I mean, the red flags here are just unbelievable.
We're having a parade of them. It's a whole color guard just flipping those red flags.
And you know, the thing that disturbed me the most about all this, let me see if I can find it real quick.
There's a lot, yeah.
You know, how do I practically make it feel safer to use their safe word?
Right.
And you know what? You shouldn't feel that way. If you feel you need to say your safe word,
right,
say the damn thing.
Right.
Okay? There should be nothing holding you back. That does not make you less of a sub. That does not make you, you know, that's your limits, damn it.
Right. If something feels off, safe word.
Right.
Yeah. And again, it's easy to say that in retrospect. It's easy to say that in hindsight. In the moment, you know, things were feeling off. She wasn't feeling comfortable. She wasn't feeling secure. He certainly wasn't giving off any vibes that he gave two fucks about her.
Right.
So I could see if you're not confident in yourself yet, or you're not confident in what you're doing yet, I can see where the hesitation comes from. The lesson to be learned is that I don't give a fuck who it is. I don't give a fuck how long you've been playing.
Yeah.
Going forward, if something doesn't feel right, you safe word, or even before you even start the scene, you go, something's not feeling right. Now, does that mean an asshole like this will not try to gaslight you into, you know, that's, you know, that's not really what's happening here? I mean, of course, that's what these kinds of people tend to do.
Yeah.
But that's easy in hindsight. In the moment, I get it, you know, to think that, wait, we talked about this. Or, you know, this person does a thing that I think a lot of people do. They second guess themselves. Well, I said this thing was a hard limit, but I didn't say explicitly that this thing wasn't. And that's my fault. And so then they take all the responsibility on, when the problem, the problem is the partner. The problem is that partner never asked, never checked in, based on this description, was not worried about her pleasure or what she was getting out of the scene at all. And I find it like laughable that like the next day, then there's a text of, oh, I may have crossed some bounds. Oh, you think? You think? So, I'm feeling like he fucking knew what he was doing in the fucking middle of it.
And here's something too that kind of struck me in this too. You know, they rented dungeon space. All right, we've done that in the past. Okay, you and I. Where was the DM?
It was, and it was a private rental space. Like, where was a person to just monitoring the space? Yeah.
I mean, when we rented the dungeon space that time to celebrate your birthday, there was somebody there.
Right. I don't even think they were in the room, but they were close enough by.
They were not in the room. They were in the little office, which was behind the dungeon, but they were within. And
there were rules for renting the space. It's like, if we're downstairs, you stomp your feet if you need a dungeon monitor. If we're upstairs, we'll be watching, but you know, the house safe word is blah, blah, blah. So like, if your safe word's not working or you forget it and you can remember the house safe word. Right. And if a dungeon monitor hears the house safe word, they know they need to be paying attention to what the fuck's going on.
I know dungeons will, you know, allow for private parties and such, but they just don't hand you the keys and say,
they should not.
Here you go, and you know, nobody's
not without there being a way to let somebody know that there's a problem, because otherwise you could be like, you know, I can imagine a space where maybe there's different rooms and you can rent the room as a dungeon space. Okay, then how is that monitored for people's safety? How could somebody who is in an unsafe situation get some help? What is that set up like? And if there's nothing set up like that, again, this is a future thing. It doesn't help the situation that happened. That's not a place to play, you know? Right. The part that I mean, it all bothers me. There's not a single part, but the part that like strikes me is how that first play date and the setup for that first play date was, the way she described it, picture perfect. This is what you would expect. You know, we did all the worksheets. We had all the conversations. You know, we went over our limits, and that first one was what they wanted, enough that they wanted the second one. And so then my question is this person a predator who lured her in on the first one and then thought he could do whatever he wanted afterwards.
Got her into a false sense of security.
Or was he just on his best behavior for that first one, and then after that thought he could do whatever the fuck he wanted and got lazy, you know, and didn't have to try. Either way, he's a walking red fucking flag, you know. Yep. I do not blame her at all for all of her conflicted feelings. What I hate is she thinks she has to take any fucking blame for
on
this.
herself, yeah.
Because, sure, again, hindsight is always 20/20. We can always find what we could have done different. But in the moment, you're trapped by your brain chemistry and your body's reactions, and you don't have any control over those things. You know, it's about walking into the space with knowledge and hopefully confidence to overcome those moments. And this person's just too new. They didn't have it yet. And they didn't have a genuinely responsible partner, even though he fucking sold himself that way. Because a responsible partner would have been like, hey, I know you said condoms for penetration. What about for this, right? This is something I'm imagining. What about for this? Or if I'm going to bet fucking money her body language was giving off like vibes. And he was doing things that maybe they hadn't discussed previously. One, I want to tell people, be careful. Don't rely just on body language, because people don't always read body language well. But if you are going, wait, normally they're writhing on the floor screaming in pleasure, and right now they're very tense and quiet. Maybe I should just ask a fucking question, right? The yellow, when she called yellow, it's the thing about safe words, and it's everybody handles them differently. But in general, if somebody safe words, everything stops, right? Immediately. You check in. Sometimes that safe word is just not that fucking thing, but I can keep going. Sometimes that safe word is, we just need to stop. But you stop and check in. That yellow should have been a time to pause, check in,
right,
see where she was at, modify, and then maybe keep playing. But I also think, let me see if I can find it. There's a lot here.
Yeah.
Where when she called yellow, it does not seem like he really even paused. Now, what I would tell her going forward for future negotiations.
After saying yellow would have wanted to check in.
That's what I'm going to say. It was uncalled for, please really stop. But she said up here she did yellow.
Right. And he proceeded.
Right. My point is for future negotiations, what she wanted from that yellow was a check-in.
Right.
Even if you think a future partner knows that, I would just, lesson learned, I'd be very fucking explicit. If I call yellow, please stop and check in with me. Right. Don't just stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
You and I have the dynamic. If I call yellow, you're going to stop with that implement.
Right.
You might give me a quick, sexy check-in, but you're going to pick up the next thing because you know what it means between us because we've played enough. New partners or partners who just ask, they tell you in negotiations, if I say yellow, I want to check in just as much as if I said red, right? Again, that's for future her to add in to hopefully avoid some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But if somebody's going to be a walking red flag and abusive as fuck and selfish as fuck, I don't think all the negotiations in the world are going to protect you from it, which sucks because it's like, well, how do I know the difference between the asshole who's not worth my time and the real kinkster who will respect my boundaries, right? Yeah. And that's the impossible part sometimes because he sounds like he did it right in the beginning. Now, what my nosy ass would love to have been a fly on the wall, because I wonder if he was putting out red flags that she just didn't. She was too new. When you're too new, you're not gonna. Some red flags are not overt. They're not this guy's spewing, hate speech or something. It's really subtle shit that sometimes you don't see until they have done the worst thing, And I'm not involved in casual play at all, so I don't have the advice of the tools of how do you circumvent that, because a liar's gonna lie, an abuser's gonna abuse, and they're gonna get away with as much as they fucking can. And this has been an ongoing problem, I'm sure, for years, but certainly since the advent of the fucking internet, where bad actors take the language of kink and they use it and they manipulate people with it. And some of them are real fucking good, and you can't just tell from the outside looking in.
Right.
And that's the insidious part. And that's why I think all of us, I don't care which side of the slash you are, please walk around with some trust issues. Not a lot, not toxically, not, like bad for your health trust issues, but maybe just a few. But again, it's not her fault. At the very beginning, she did what we would have told anybody to do. And he followed the script, and they had a good scene.
Yep.
And then he got selfish. Maybe he's just an asshole, but he's still just an asshole who could have caused serious fucking harm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad at the end she's like, I'm not playing with that guy ever again.
Right.
Good. Because that's too many times we get into conversations where they're like, how do I make this right with this person? And we have to go, you don't. You get the fuck away from them. So she has learned the lessons, or many of the lessons from this, and hopefully, won't have to go through this again. But, I think there are the assholes and the abusers and the walking red flags that prey upon and take advantage of the fact that people can talk themselves into going, well, I didn't explicitly say not this specific thing, so maybe that shouldn't count in my safe word. And the rule in general is, I don't care if you never said this was a hard limit. If something happens that you are uncomfortable with, you just fucking safe word. And the new lesson is, in the negotiations, hey, if I say a safe word, I do expect everything to stop and for you to check in. A responsible kinkster is going to go, yes, that's what I would do anyway. Glad we had this conversation. Whatever this guy fucking is probably going to be surprised or go, what do you mean? But you know what? I knew when I first read this, before we got into the bad shit, when she was bringing up in their conversation, first of all, he wanted a 1-hour conversation about why they didn't talk for 24 hours when they are casual play partners.
Yeah.
Really? But, so that was like, I got where she was like, that seems like overkill. But then when she says, I'm feeling anxious and I'm feeling nervous, and his response is, oh, come on.
Yeah, I know.
So again, hindsight being what it is, right? To me, the message for her going forward is, if somebody does not respect when you share your feelings like that, and that you're nervous or anxious, and they don't respect that, and they don't like give it the they're not serious about it, that's the red flag. They don't get to play with you if they can't take your feelings about the play seriously before the play even fucking happens.
I mean, if someone's feeling that anxious beforehand, you would even have to ask, well, is there anything I can do to help with this? And if it's that point, like, okay, well, maybe we need to scrub this play date and do it at another time.
And a responsible kinkster, we talked about this in a previous, I can't remember what. We're grown adults here. You might feel disappointed because the play's not happening. You'll be okay.
Right.
So, if the person's feeling anxious and they're not 100% like sure, and you can't easily, calm their fears for them and help them feel comfortable, the play doesn't happen. And if you're so disappointed that you lash out, or you ignore the person's feelings or negate the person's feelings, or whatever, I mean, again, I got trust issues. You're not worth playing with. Yeah. Even casually, right? Because casual play partners should have basic fucking respect for one another and should want this to be a good experience for everybody involved. Not just what this selfish bastard was doing, which is like, I'm gonna get what I want, and, well, she didn't exactly say I couldn't do this, so how far can I go before she speaks up? And that is where, I wish she didn't have to learn this lesson this way, but I wish whoever she becomes after this experience, hopefully confident, hopefully assertive, hell, just like ready to say a safe word at the first sign of discomfort. I wish she could have been that way already without having to go through this to hopefully get there.
Yeah. Because
none of this is her fucking fault.
Nope.
Even if from the outside looking in, we could go, yeah, here's what I would have done if knowing what I know. She didn't know. She's too fucking new. And he said all the right shit at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so now it's a lesson learned of, if they do that to me before we're even playing, right? If they tell me that I'm just being, too anxious, or I'm taking it too seriously. Oh, maybe that's a sign, right? Maybe, or we have to have a 1 hour discussion because I didn't talk to you for 24 hours. What? We're not talking about people trying to negotiate a dynamic and they're like trying to make this a serious thing. We're talking about fucking play partners.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, throw the whole motherfucker away.
Right.
As per usual.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Okay. This is another one that had the comments at the time when I found this one had me feeling pretty good because they were not toxic bullshit comments like you might imagine. Right. Here's your title.
Okay.
Can you, quote, learn being dominant if you're not naturally sadistic, decisive, and commanding? My partner, let's call her Jane, is really into BDSM. She even goes to BDSM parties with her other partner. From what I understand, she is the sub. Jane has been into the scene for a while now, and she has her preferences. While Jane does her best to make me feel special when we're together, I too often still feel intimidated and inadequate. I'm not a naturally decisive or dominant person. I'm the let's feel good and be cozy together type of partner. I feel like Jane's other partners can truly satisfy her BDSM needs. Jane has been hinting her needs of introducing BDSM into our sex life. I would love to satisfy her, but I'm super afraid that I'll be a terrible dom. I feel like a dom should be decisive, commanding, confident, and a little bit sadistic. I'm none of that. Imagine someone shy trying to act all tough. Everyone can see through that, and it's not a convincing performance. I have some questions. 1, can being dominant be learned? If so, how do I learn that? 2, how do I get rid of this fear of being a fake dom? 3, can you, as a member of a BDSM community, ever be truly sexually fulfilled by having vanilla sex? So, the stereotypes.
Yeah.
If you're dominant, you got to be sadistic. You got to be naturally commanding. You got to be you got to know what you want when you want it all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, the stereotypes. They're stereotyping.
Yeah. There, again, that's small as far as, the reading there, but there's a lot there.
There's a lot of insecurity for sure.
Yeah. I liken dominance when it comes to power exchange. Someone who is, and there are people who are natural leaders.
Yeah.
Okay. And they can step up in any situation and they
take charge
and they can take charge and do what needs to do. You know what? Not everybody's born that way, and so can somebody learn that? My answer, yes, I think they can. Yeah. It depends a lot on their desire to learn it. And, because it's the same thing, you work at a job, okay? And, you're in line for a promotion. They send you to, management.
Right.
Workshops and whatnot. It's the same thing. You have to be willing to be open to it, and you have to be willing to learn.
And to learn that there are different ways of doing it, different techniques. There's not... management, leadership, dominance, there's not a single way to do any of that. And I think what happens, and sometimes it's right for people, and this is true for people, that, dominance for them, whether they learn it or it comes to them naturally or whatever, is a decisive, commanding persona that, maybe is a little sadistic, but that is not required. Sadism is different from dominance.
Right.
But they are commanding and control, and when they are in that role, the person or people they are around recognize it. That is an example of the infinite ways there are to dominate. But to dominate, big D dominate, is to be in control, or to have the power and control, however you define that. Having power and control, it does not have to be a big, loud, showy thing. A dominant who tells their submissive, I want this, doesn't have to have a certain tone to their voice, doesn't have to speak in a certain volume, doesn't have to use specific language to say, we're doing this. I want this. I want you to do this. It can be a very quiet, calm thing. It can be a thing where the only people who know what this is are the people involved. And from the outside looking in, it doesn't look like anything that they would recognize. And that is also okay. You know, having the control, and let's say they're talking specifically about their sex life, means that after careful negotiation and conversations and making sure you have consent and all those things, then the dominant is the one deciding what position you're having sex in, right? The dominant is the one controlling the speed and the intensity and how many position shifts have we had tonight, JB? You know, what did you do for 10 minutes before? And you know, again, I could not even give you a solid example that will be true for this person or anybody else because it's so unique to the individuals. Right. JB is very rarely, you know, giving me a firm look or even giving me a firm tone. He's just quietly doing what the fuck he wants that he knows I consent to, and I'm over there quietly fucking letting him. Like, it's, you know, he's definitely in fucking charge. There's just no need to advertise it, you know? It doesn't require him to bark out orders and to sound real tough. He sounds real fucking calm, like he's ordering his breakfast at a diner, you know? You do. I mean, sometimes you get into a headspace of a scene where we want something like more intense and a little bit more rough and blah, 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 blah. But not always. Actually, sometimes there's no talking at all.
Yeah.
You know, because we have had all these years to negotiate and to understand where each other's at. And I'm already speaking up to go, hey, I got a headache tonight. Or hey, if I rub up against you, will you get the fucking hint? Or, hey, if you give me a gummy, I get horny. That works in your favor, right? Like, we have all these shortcuts as a long-term relationship to let each other know where we're at. Yeah. And then sometimes he doesn't say a fucking word. He grabs my hair and, like, shoves my face on his cock. He didn't have to say nothing. He didn't have to have a persona. He just had to, like, decide what he wanted and do it. And it could be super quiet and super subtle and super, like, it just... So to this person, I don't know what just fell outside the window. It looked like a squirrel.
It was a bird that was just like flapping in front of the window.
Okay, poor podcast listeners. You're like, what the fuck is happening over there? Startled me too. So to answer this person's questions, can dominance be learned? I agree with you. Yes. I think the key thing is that you're not learning a single style and calling that dominance. You might be learning from other people about what that can look like and then figuring out what that means to you. And especially in this person's case, in conjunction with a lot of conversation from a partner who kind of knows what they're into or what maybe they've seen from you that you didn't consider dominance, and they were like, yeah, that's kind of hot, and you can grow from there. The fear of being a fake dom, that's confidence, and that's time, isn't it?
Exactly. You know, the confidence, that is something that comes over time. All right. You know, it's the old axiom, the more you do something, the more familiar you become with it. And that's kind of what this is too. You build your confidence by doing. And, you know, I'm not saying you jump in and do the most complex
real fucking
scene in the world. You know, start simple. And you know what? You're going to make mistakes.
Right.
You're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. You know, regardless of what you are, you're a human being. You're going to mess up and make a mistake. And it's not the end all, and it's not the end of the world. You learn from your mistakes, you dust off, and you move on.
Right. And I'm curious, they don't say, and it's a question I would ask this person if I was in conversation with them, is, do you want to be a dom in a power exchange way, or do you want to be, does your partner want you to be a top?
Yeah.
Where you take control and you're the doer of, the giver of, right? And they're on the receiving end of whatever that is. Because dominance and topping are not necessarily the same thing. And Correct. It could be that you gain confidence as a top first of, I will spank you with the paddle. I will be the one to decide what gets touched and what gets stimulated, and are you allowed to come and whatever. And I'll decide that without there being a lot of theatrics to that. And then maybe you grow into the dominance part where you're taking control on a deeper level than that. And then this last question, this one's so personal because there's not a single right answer. Can you, as a kinky person, ever be truly sexually fulfilled by having vanilla sex? Maybe, yes. That's individual, right? Like, there's no blanket answer. I mean, JB and I we always have kinky sex because we're kinky people who are having sex. But also there's often elements of rough sex, which is not necessarily BDSM, but can be. Like, I can make the argument because I get way too nuanced and in the weeds. But like, your average person might not consider the kind of sex we have anything other than rough sex, or they might call that vanilla sex. But we're two kinky people having sex, so all of our sex is kinky, because for us, kink is our identity. So if we're doing anything, it's kinky because kinky people are doing it.
Right.
Our sex life follows a certain pattern. And so some people will define vanilla sex as being kind of mundane, and there's like a way it happens every time, and you're not experimental, and you're not exploring, you're not trying new things. Well, sometimes we're just old and tired, and look, we're going to have sex in a spoon position, penetration in a spoon position. But, you know, is my hair going to get pulled? Yeah. Is my ass probably going to get spanked? Yeah. And sometimes that's all it is. And somebody else would call that vanilla, but it's very fulfilling sex for us. Now, sometimes I'm getting my face smacked like I am just a bad, bad girl, and I fucking love that shit. and and sometimes I'm being made to choke on a cock, and I love that shit. But it's not he didn't like string me up from the rafters of our ceiling and beat me with a wet noodle. It's not like, what are you defining as vanilla sex? If I'm having sex with a partner that I want to have sex with, and it is good for both of us, it is fulfilling, I don't fucking care what the flavor is.
Right.
And I think there's this, you know, I feel like I hear a little bit of fear from this person that they're not going to be enough for their partner because their partner wants kink elements. I also feel like that maybe when they posted this, they had not had an in-depth conversation about what their partner, Jane, means to say, I want to add BDSM into our sex life. I mean, that's like saying I would like to add every color that can be created in the universe into our home decor. What the fuck does that mean, right? Like, BDSM is such an umbrella term. Yeah. The conversation to have is, okay, what do you mean by that? What are you looking for? What kind of experience do you want to have? And how can I participate in that, right?
What does this look like to you? Right.
Because it's like, what if what they want is, you know, to have their hair pulled and have their ass smacked, right? They want some spankings. They want it to be rougher. They want a little bit of pain, but they don't, you know, this person has gone to, I have to be the domliest dom my partner's ever had, and I don't think I can be that. But have they had the conversation about what their partner actually wants?
Yep. Yeah. Because
it might be they've built it up in their head to be way bigger than their partner is currently envisioning. The other thing is, you got to start small anyway.
Right.
So even if their partner does want the entire rainbow of the colors that are BDSM in their home decor, to beat an analogy to death.
Yeah.
You know, if they're experienced in kink, there's a very good chance, hopefully, that they're aware we got to start small here. So, like, here's what I'd love, but here, let's just start with this. Let's just try this, you know? And that's another thing. I don't hear this in this question. This person has not said anything about their partner who has the kink experience being part of their educational process. And maybe it's because it hasn't occurred to them yet. I'm thinking so, because if it had occurred to them and they rejected it, I think they probably would have said something. And that is the thing to remember. Hi, new and emerging dominants who don't know what the fuck you're doing. If your submissive has the experience and your submissive is willing, and high submissives, I think you should be willing, let them fucking lead you. It's a service.
And that's act of service.
Even if you're not a service submissive, to be the one to lead your partner who is trying to be, wants to be, you want them to be the dominant or the top here. That service, that can be submission. You don't have to be bossy to do it.
Right.
I mean, you can be if that's your thing. I probably wouldn't be, but, you know, that's how I am. But yeah, like, lean on the more experienced partner to point you in the right direction, you know, and to tell you what the fuck they're envisioning. I think we overthink things, especially when we're not feeling confident. Okay. One more.
And I have to...
Okay. And you have to let a cat out who has forgotten how the windows work. This is a cat that just came in through the window and needs to go out the door. This last one is kind of fun. This last one feels right based on what I've been doing a lot of lately. Title. Am I into these kinks, or am I just being influenced by the things I read? Okay. Recently, I've had a few revelations about some kinks that were previously completely off the table for me. The two biggest ones being anal and spanking, which were two I had completely rejected the idea of. However, in the last couple months, I found myself slowly becoming more intrigued. In the last few months, though, I've also been consuming more BDSM erotica, and I'm uncertain if this is just a passing phase due to the constant consuming of content involving those kinks in it. Like, can you get sort of drunk off of reading erotica to the point of tricking yourself into thinking you enjoy a kink when maybe you don't? So sorry if anyone feels like maybe my question is silly, but I didn't know where else to go. So I actually have a lot of thoughts on this. What are your thoughts? My initial thoughts are,
in reading this, or in reading the erotica that you are reading that has BDSM elements to it. She's scratching her back.
Go ahead.
And, it is entirely possible to become curious, inquisitive about it all. And, there's only one way you're going to find out. If you dip your toes in and try it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And you know what? You may be like, okay, I'd rather this just stay in the books that I'm reading, or, oh yeah, there's something to this.
Right.
So it could go either way.
Okay, my turn? Okay, because, I had thoughts. All right.
I know.
So first of all, and I can't categorize these in any order, so they're not in order of importance. First of all, thanks for tipping the tripod. First of all, my first question would have been, what did you think of anal and spanking and what that entailed before you started reading anything? Because sometimes what happens with a thing we thought was completely off limits and now we're open to, it's because we have found out through fiction or nonfiction that the way it can occur was not what we originally imagined. We had a very narrow definition of what those things were, and by reading stories or watching people or whatever, we learned that it is much more than what we originally conceived of, and some of those different ways of doing it intrigue us in ways that our original thought did not. So that's one thing. Two, you abso-fucking-lutely can be turned on by something you read and not actually want to do it in real life. I am turned on by some real dark fucking shit sometimes. I don't want that anywhere near me. I mean, I recognize the internet loves to call something a kink because it turns you on even though you don't want to do it. And it can be a kink. You don't have to do something for it to be a kink. But when people reading books are talking about their, quote, new kinks, they're talking about it from this is sexy as a fantasy, but I don't actually want to engage in it. Yes, it's a legitimate kink. It's fine. But it's a very narrow view of kink, and we as kinksters tend to go much deeper than that. So that is also true. Third, did I have a third thought? I would love to know what BDSM erotica she's reading, because my concern would be, are you reading things that can actually happen?
Right.
Or are you reading such fantastical things that some of us who are kinky would be like, no, that's
not...
the physics on Earth just do not allow for that to happen, but I'm glad that's turning you on.
Yeah.
But also, and somebody said it in the comments on this Reddit post, you can be into those kinks and be influenced by what you're reading. Both can be true, and it's not bad to be influenced. I did not know there was a word called submission in the way we use it here. And I did not know I was one until I started reading other people's experiences, and it opened my eyes and my mind up to concepts that I had not previously thought of.
Right.
Could not have thought about it until I was introduced to it in some way. So yes, what I read influenced me, but it didn't make me something that I'm not already. I was that. I just didn't understand a part of myself, and I found something that explained me, and I went, oh shit, yeah. And then through practicing it and trying it, then I went, oh, this is who I am.
I mean, there are some things, obviously, yes, you read in erotic fiction, and you know what, some of that shit should never see the light of day.
Right. It's illegal. You would go to jail if you did those things.
Right, but what they're talking about there, trying anal, trying spanking, I mean, those are fairly common thing, maybe, still kinky, but there is nothing wrong with trying it, as long as they educate themselves in the way to do it properly.
Right. To me, it'd be like one of the easiest, air quote that, because this is going to be personal for everybody. The easiest ways to go, is this just something I like in this book I'm reading, or am I interested in this?
Yeah.
Is to take it out of your book for a minute and just go to the internet and do a quick search, maybe on exactly the kind of scenario you're reading, because somebody else, assuming again an author has not lost the plot and is trying to do something that cannot exist in real life, somebody else has probably talked about that, or will talk about how you can do that, or we'll have hopefully factual information about how it works. And if when you read the factual information about how it works and you go, yeah, maybe, I'm still kind of intrigued. It's not as sexy as that thing I was reading, but okay, I see how this could work. If you're still interested in, maybe bringing it up with a partner, maybe trying it yourself, whatever, I think that's another indication that this isn't just a thing you want to read about that you would never want to experience in real life. Those things exist. I'm thinking about some of the shit I've read, and I'm like, yeah, no, I wouldn't let that anywhere near me, and I would press charges on anybody who did that to me. But I still am turned on by it. And and I think there's also, I want to be careful, because I think that I said it earlier, I'm going to say it again, I want to be clear. You can have a kink for a thing that you have not actively tried and are not sure you would ever try. You can have a thing that you maybe would really like to try, or if it was physically possible, or if you had a partner, or if you just lived a different life. But also, some things are just turn-ons when you read them, and they're not actually kinks, right? A kink is typically defined as being an activity that you do, versus a fetish, which is this thing is typically required for sexual arousal and or pleasure, right? You get off on it when you encounter it. It is part of the arousal process for you, right? Those definitions are sort of shifting a bit depending on who you talk to, as language changes and shifts and more people come into the kink world. But in general, the kink is the activity, the fetish is sexual, and you can do a kink and not be sexually aroused, you can do a kink and be sexually aroused, but a fetish is usually classified by sexual arousal. Right. Reading something that you define as kinky and being turned on by it is not always and not necessarily the same as being a kink you want to do and it being your kink. Unless, like Junie said in the live chat, that your kink can be just reading kinky smut. And I'm down for that. Yeah. Reading kinky smut is the activity, right? So that's semantics, and that's like way in the fucking weeds of what words mean, whatever. Overall, yes, your reading can influence you, but that is not a bad thing. It's not automatically negative. The beauty of reading, in whatever form that takes, physical books, audiobooks, ebooks, magazine, I don't give a fuck how you read. Reading the perspective of a fictional character or a real human being and the experiences they're having because the writer put them down into words in some way opens up doors in your own mind and imagination that you could not have done without that author doing that thing and putting those words together. That you can be affected in a positive way, in this case a sexual way, is about you as the reader and what it touches within you, and the power of that author and what they fucking shared. And the thing that turns you on might not turn on somebody else. It's unique to the person. So please be, to some extent, be influenced by what the fuck you're reading. That's a honored tradition in reading. Like, that's why reading works so well. We are influenced. The way to know if it's just a thing that needs to stay in the pages for you or a thing you might explore is, to go learn. I really think learn about it a little bit. And if you're immediately turned off by the practicalities of it, it might just be a fantasy thing for you.
Yeah.
If you are intrigued by the practicalities of it and go, this is doable. I'm still turned on. Okay. Then I think you go to the next step and go, hey, do I have a willing partner in my life who'll try some of this with me? Or is some of this stuff I can do on my own to see how I feel about it by myself? But I kind of worry that this person I get a sense of like embarrassment or shame that their kinks might be influenced by what they read. Yeah. But if you didn't know a kink even fucking existed or a way of expressing the kink, how would you have learned otherwise? I mean, how many people have we come across in life who are like, I'm definitely not kinky, or that is definitely a hard limit, and they've defined that thing through a narrow lens of how they understand it, and then they learn all the different ways you can experience it, and they go, wait, maybe I am into that thing. It's like, because your eyes got opened by outside influence of learning more about the thing. Does that mean the kink didn't exist, or is it that I implanted it into your mind? All we did was widen your horizons a little bit. That's all. Yeah. And then you decided what you liked. So, anyway, that was the last one. This was very chaotic. The dog and cats and our attention to them did not help. We can do a bonus section.
Okay.
And
so are we good?
I don't know. We're chaotic, if nothing else.
That goes without saying.
Okay. Keep it kinky, y'all. And we'll see you next week. Daddy.
Yes, baby girl.
Can we talk to the crickets?
Sure.
Okay. What are we talking about?
Life, the universe, and everything.
The answer's 42.
Yeah.
I felt really good that year I was 42. I feel less good now that I'm 44.
I don't remember 42.
Stop. That was only 20 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago, I was at least technically a legal adult. So, no, what's going on? Chaos and stress and chaos. That's about it. Lola's a giant potato.
Yep.
Onyx is a menace. Oh my God. Okay, anybody who has cats knows. You know what cats do. And I'm so sorry if you don't have cats and find this repulsive. But you know how they throw up fur balls, right? And they make that sound. I'm not right.
Yeah.
And then you find messes, because our cats love to hack up a fur ball in the middle of the night. But sometimes when you are a person who has 6-foot plus shelving in your office area that holds inventory and supplies, and you have a cat who likes to jump to the highest point in any given room, and does frequently, you too can have the experience of watching your cat start hacking up a fur ball on the top shelf that you are not even tall enough to see the top of, and chase her from the side that had a whole bunch of cardboard boxes that would absolutely be ruined by that, over to a more empty spot, but still no less grotesque and hard to reach, and will get the step ladder out
and
for.
I will look up there today, so.
And she looked at me the whole time and going, no, Onyx, no, I can't reach her. I can't pull her down. She doesn't let you pick her up anyway. If my hands had gone out, she'd have gone to the furthest corner, which would be on top of other boxes and behind stuff, which would be harder to find. So I had to watch her and act like this was a hostage negotiation and I couldn't move too fast. And just go, Onyx, no, Onyx. I don't know what I thought I was doing.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that I could make her nervous enough that she would just jump the fuck down. Like, do I want a fur ball yacked up on my carpet? No. But do I want to have to get up on top of something to clean it off? No.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my afternoon yesterday. That was delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been hectic. It's been stressful, but it's all been work related. It's not been. We haven't done anything.
Mm-mm.
We saw the oldest over the weekend. He texted and was like, "Hey, can you come? Can you come take me to the store? Because he's got his motorcycle, but he's only going to fit what he can carry in a backpack on that.
You can't fit big things."
And he was like, "I need to get some stuff in bulk." And that's all he said. And I should have asked the follow-up question of, "Do you mean let's go to Sam's, or do you just need more than what can fit in your backpack?" We get there, and I'm ready to go to Aldi. And he's like, "No, I needed to go to Sam's, Mom." I'm like, "Let's go to Sam's." He bought 4 whole things that I cannot imagine that life. I have never once we went into a Sam's Club and didn't fill up at least half of a grocery cart.
We have gone one time.
We bought cat food.
Cat food, or was it dog food? One or the other. It was fur baby food.
It was something for
something around the fur babies, but that was the only time.
And I'm like, damn. And yet he still spent $70.
Yeah. Well, he bought a case of energy drinks,
which is still cheaper than the way he usually buys the one off at the gas station. So he was, college kid math. He was saving money.
Right.
So yeah, we ran him around town to a few stores, and he knows that we are not I want to be a parent that can swoop into town, take my kid to all the stores he wants to go to, swipe my card, take him to lunch, have a good time. We are not living that life right now, and he knows that. So he's buying his groceries. And he goes, we're in Walmart, and he goes, I'm hungry. Can we do something about that? And JB's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm doing quick math. I'm like, yeah, we can make that work. This is where we're going. We can make it work. So we did. We got something to eat. And then when we went to Aldi, we did not get to do our normal weekend grocery shopping, and we are creatures of habit. Usually somewhere between Friday and Sunday, we're going to Aldi to get our groceries. We did not have time this weekend. So it's like, we need to get a couple of things that we can't live without for another day. I said, and we'll do grocery shopping like on Monday or something. So we're in there, and we're like, well, we're here at an Aldi's. It's not in our town, but we're at an Aldi's. So I'm getting our stuff. He got how is this college student surviving on anything? Air and potato chips? I don't know. He got like 4 things. And I'm looking at his stuff, because I thought he was going to get groceries. Yeah. I'm looking at our stuff, and I'm like, look at me. I can be a big spender. Sure, I'll buy your $10 worth of Aldi groceries. Your mom can help you out. Right. Oh, God. But, yeah. He was so funny. We went to Culver's for lunch, and we're sitting in the parking lot about to walk in, and we're talking, and he actually said, I was ready to get out. I was hungry at this point. And he goes, well, we don't have to rush. We can sit here and talk. I'm like, no, we can sit at a table in Culver's where I can get refills on my drink and talk. And he did not want to rush this. He did not want us to take him to the store, drop him back off at his house, and be done in an hour. He wanted to just hang out with us, the old parental figures. I was like, I kind of love this.
I know that was a little bit of a different feeling.
So,
that could have been a makeup for his the night we went to see him for the concert.
Yeah, when he was really blunt, close to the point of rudeness. Maybe, but I don't think so. He's not quite medicated enough to engage too long in a conversation that bores the shit out of him just to make somebody else feel better.
Yeah.
Not quite that kid. So, yeah. But no, it's been mostly just boring stuff. I discovered that McDonald's iced coffee, if you can get the right amount of cream in it, is not the worst thing I've ever had. Had an got a freebie through the McDonald's app, because if you will reward me with points that turn into free food, I will have your app. Assuming you're a place I already am willing to go. So I have a ridiculous number of points from several months ago, and I'm trying to use them up before they expire, because then that's just a waste, right? And I was like, let me try. I can get a free iced coffee. Let me try. And I got a iced caramel coffee with extra cream, because if it looks like coffee, it'll be too bitter for me. I'm sorry. It was fucking delicious. Like, it wasn't, homemade cold brew. Was it, some of the better coffees I've had at, like, some of our local places that it's $10 for a coffee? No, but, I mean, it was better than Starbucks iced coffee tastes to me. But Starbucks iced coffee and their espressos taste burnt to me these days, so I was like, okay.
I had a taste of it, a little too much cream for my taste, but it was decent, yeah.
Look, if my coffee does not look like the color of my thigh, it's too dark. It's too dark. And for anybody who's like, the color of your thigh, I'm a white lady who does not go out in the sun. That's all you got to know. That's how you know how pale my coffee is. Hey, I have discovered that I can put too much cream in my coffee, and if all I taste is cream, I will drink it. But it's not as good as it could be. I do have an upper limit on too much cream. I have found it.
Okay.
So, I'm just saying.
I need to excuse myself.
Okay. This, like, if we were, what am I trying to say? Professionals, we would have just ended the stream. But I'll just sit here and keep talking about nothing. I was already struggling to find stuff to talk about, but I don't want to, like, stop talking either, because this is a form of community for me, and so once a week I get to, like, sit here and, like, feel like we're all hanging out, and even if I have nothing to say, I would like to still be hanging out. But now my partner in crime has left the room, and I don't know how to do this by myself. Okay. Enchanted Wings in live chat says, I like Starbucks blonde espresso that they put into shaken espressos. I will say their blonde espresso is better to me than all of their other espresso. And I like Starbucks cold brew. Their cold brew is good. And I do like the Starbucks shaken espressos. I don't use regular milk in my espressos because lactose intolerance. I have discovered I love oat milk as a milk replacement in lattes. Like, it's good. I don't want to put oat milk on my cereal necessarily. I don't want to drink a glass of it. But in a coffee drink, especially as a latte, oh, hell yeah, that's really good. But yeah, I have discovered that I really just prefer cold brew, and not just because we make it here at home. I mean, that is a little bit of it, but it's smoother when the way it's made and brewed and everything. Dunkin', I haven't been to Dunkin' in weeks, but Dunkin' started a thing where you can get, like, their $3 medium cold brews, and normally I get like an iced coffee, medium large, whatever. But the moment they started that deal, if I was going to Dunkin', it was to get the cold brew, because that just tastes better and doesn't taste bitter to me, as long as I put enough sweetener and cream in it. So yeah. But we have not been doing that, but we haven't really been going anywhere either, except for, like, errands and if a kid needs us. So it's not a big deal. I've just been drinking a lot of coffee at home. JB asked me to top off his coffee before we started recording today, and I was like, yeah, I'll top mine off too. Well, JB meant that. He still had over half of his coffee from the morning, and he just wanted it topped up. I had sucked mine dry. And even so, even some of the ice was starting to melt at that point. And I just got a whole ass new coffee. So, but sure, I topped it up. I topped it up. That totally counts. Totally counts. I'm babbling about coffee because I don't know. Do you have anything? Did you just leave and come back for us to finally end the stream and put folks out of our misery, their misery, your misery? If you're still here, you're like, clearly you want to be. But and I need to just remind myself of that.
I mean, I haven't been doing a whole lot lately. It's mostly been work.
We've been working, we've been researching, and we've been stressing. That's what we do.
That's what we do. You know, I did go to our local munch.
Yeah.
Last night.
You got to, you don't have to go into details, but you got to have a kink community thing over the weekend again.
Yes. Which
did lead to a very serious discussion that we ended up having like
right.
24 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which we still don't know what we're going to do about it.
But we know that something needs to be.
So I thought you were going to talk about your munch and stuff. So let me just tell you, because I think other people could probably relate.
Mm-hmm.
JB has, it's his second Saturday in a row of going off and having a kink adventure, of which I'm completely fucking supportive. But something about the second one, where this past weekend when he went out and did some stuff, fucking hit me like a ton of bricks, because I finally had a realization that I should have been fucking having, but I'm slow on the uptake sometimes. I was like, because it started out I was jealous of JB, and then I realized that I was directing that in the wrong way, because I was like, well, it must be nice to get to go off and have adventures and not have to worry about what is happening at home and if life is continuing, and are the dishes getting washed and the animals getting fed and the kid getting fed and is life still happening? And what I realized was not that I'm jealous of JB for having that freedom, but I'm pissy because I have not done anything to give myself that freedom. I do not have my own
And
thing.
what's funny is that this past weekend, while I was off having that little adventure, I was thinking just that.
Which is why, one, you're a good human, and two, you're a good partner, because an oblivious fucking partner would have been shocked, and probably might have been empathetic, but would have been shocked when I said something.
I think what was kind of humorous, when we were in the car and you brought it up before you even finished saying what you were thinking, I was like, yeah, you need to be able to get away and have your own adventures. Yeah.
And see, the problem we have is I don't want to go anywhere.
Or be around people.
Not be around people I don't know. I have, if you want me to have a stressful moment, send me out and make me interact with people I don't know in a situation in which I am not comfortable. Yay, hell on earth. Mm-hmm. So, we had a serious conversation about it. There wasn't a blaming or a finger pointing. It was an acknowledgement of, and this is typical in especially long-term relationships, especially when there's caregiving involved, children or adults, doesn't matter. There's a default person who takes on most of the mental load, most of the administrative tasks. With kids, there tends to be a default parent, and I'm that person. And we're going to talk about submissives with control issues, I think, in next week's episode. Spoiler. And I recognize that some of that is my own control issues. But what it means is I am the person who does not think about, what am I going to do to relax? What am I going to do to unwind? How do I take a break from this? I don't think about that till I'm at a tipping point. I'm at a breaking point. I don't do that until the well is so fucking dry, that there's nothing left, and that's not good either. But also, we now live a life where, and I have become a kind of person who, I don't just walk into social spaces and just exist. That's deeply uncomfortable. I like to do things on my own, or that, my own hobbies that are just that are solo endeavors. I can do them side by side with somebody, but they do not require interaction, right? That's what I tend to like to do. But as any default parent will know, if you try to do a thing in your house and call it a break, you better know how to hide from everybody in your house. The
better have a damn good hiding spot.
Right, because the default parent or the default caregiver will be the person everybody goes to with, how do I do this and where is this? And that was the conversation I was having with JB. It was like, my interests do not necessarily align with leaving the house. However, how do I get a break if I am in this house? One, everybody's going to come to me. And two, is it a break if I come home and all the things I still have to do are still sitting there?
Yeah.
So we had a very mature, calm conversation. Right. We have no answers.
Right.
But we at least had the conversation.
But we've had the conversation, and now we're open to continuing the conversation, and
Yeah.
So
for anybody who can relate to that, if you're feeling jealous of your partner's adventures, I think it's time for a conversation about how you're going to go have your own adventures. And it's for anybody who is like a socially anxious person or somebody who does not like being around a lot of people or struggles to make friends. I am that person as well. JB gets to have these adventures, one, because he's willing, right? But because he's put the time and the effort into making friends and having community. And so over this time that he's done that, they've gotten to know him and people are inviting him to things. And I was like, it's like having two different versions of myself on my shoulder, one on each shoulder. Because one side was like, well, if you get your ass out there and actually make friends, you too could be invited to things that you dread going to because you hate social interaction. And on the other hand, I'm like, that's not my idea of relaxing. Now, going to, this is so weird. I've been to a play party, and we had a good scene. And yet I still struggled. It was nobody's fault. It was all me. And yet going to the dungeon, I struggle less. That is so weird to me. I would, let me go to a dungeon. I think it's because it's less personal, right? It's not somebody's house. It's not, close quarters. Whatever. The internet action is not seen as part of the thing. So there are things I'm like, I would like to do that, but I'm not actually envious that he's going to these parties necessarily. I don't want to have to do the thing he did naturally and with joy in his heart to get to that point. But also, I'm enough of human beings to some extent are kind of social creatures. And I'm like, yeah, I want to be liked too, but you have to let people get to know you in order for them to like you. But that, I don't want to do that.
Well, Rara, I see myself more of a ambivert.
So for podcast listeners, Rara said, I appreciate you, meaning me, recognize that it's not JB's fault that he's an extrovert and you aren't. Yeah, for sure.
So,
for sure.
I've always seen myself a little bit more of an ambivert. And that's because, I love, I do love going out and being amongst people and going to workshops and munches and all different, even social get-togethers where there's kinky folks. But there also comes a point where I want to just come home and stay home and recharge and,
The other thing I was...
I can go both ways.
Yeah. You can go always in a few ways, and that is one of the things many of us like about you.
Yeah.
And if you're new here, yes, put all of the sexual innuendo you would take into that. Another thing that we kind of talked about and we don't have an answer for is that the other struggle is that when he comes home and recharges, he comes back home to all of our normal stress, all of our extra stress we're carrying, all of our anxieties, all the things we're dealing with. And so when he and I are interacting, even when he's recharging, we are interacting like we do every single moment of the day. And lately that's been very stress-filled and a lot of just so many worries.
Yeah.
And so the other thing I was telling him is I miss when he and I were going to do things and we could get away together. I don't, because he has another partner, the conversation does have to be, I don't want to take up all your time and take away your time from that you get to spend with your other partner, but I would like some of that for myself. And that is a source of envy as well, because when you're home, we're back to home stuff and worry stuff and work stuff and all the stuff we got going on. And the big problem is we're at a current point in our life.
Lola agrees.
Right, as she often does. We're at a point in our life where going off to have adventures and drive and, you know, go to a club or go to dinner or go and do things that are not free to do, that's not an option for us right now, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I want stuff that's just for me so that I can get away, even if it's just mentally, from all of my responsibilities for a hot minute and not walk back into all the responsibilities I left. Like, can some of the things be done for me while I'm not focused on them? Mm-hmm. But also, I want the luxury, and it is a fucking luxury, of getting to go do fun stuff with my partner who goes and does fun stuff.
We did,
and that's a struggle too.
Now we have talked. There are numerous munches in our area. You could almost spend every day of the week going from one to the other.
Yeah.
And there is one. We talked about this. There is one munch which is actually relatively close to us. Mm-hmm. And it is fairly small. Mm-hmm. And we talked about that may be something that we start doing together.
You might have to give me a gummy, but yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Something to just... Once I'm in a situation and know that there's nothing to be terrified of, I tend to relax. But man, getting to that point, that can be a struggle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's been good conversation within our relationship. There's been no resolution, which I continue to be a person who lacks patience and wants problems to be solved the moment I acknowledge that there's a problem. But I have matured enough to know that I just have to be disappointed because that's not quite how life works. Because sometimes there is no easy solution, right? Like sometimes I have found acknowledging the issue and having a partner who sees it and like says, yeah, this is real and I see that and I get where you're coming from and I agree and I'm going through it too. Mm-hmm. Sometimes just having that conversation has to be enough for a while. It is helpful because then I don't feel alone. I don't feel like I'm having to just keep things in my head and not say something. I've said it. We're on the same page about it. That means if I bring it up again at some point, it's not new information and we can continue the conversation. I feel less alone in it. You know, there was a time, probably when I was in my 20s, that I could have a conversation with somebody about what was going on and have that moment of relief because, hey, we talked about the thing, but then immediate, like, crushing disappointment that the thing couldn't be fixed. And I guess I've just now had 44 years of problems never being immediately fixed, and I've grown used to it. And so I'm like, I don't have any solutions. I don't have any options that I can make work right now, but I'm not miserable because we ended up having a really good conversation come out of it, and we are on the same page about that. Right. You know what I mean?
I mean, nothing was,
resolved.
But yeah, it was good to have the conversation, and knowing that it is as we progress with it to find a resolution. And this is like a episode within the episode.
I know. I don't have anything to talk about. Oh, look, here's what I have. So, yeah, for anybody who maybe can relate, you're never alone. Somebody can always relate. But I think we're both getting kind of worn down by the grind of some of the things that we just can't fix. Like some things can't be fixed. Or some things can be fixed, but the fix is so slow, it is maddening. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
We keep having like setbacks, so it's like, oh, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Oh, look at you, 1 step forward, 5 steps back. And that grind will wear you down, and it's easy, for us at least, it is so easy to get into conflict because we're lacking patience, we're exhausted, we're both frustrated by the situations we find ourselves in.
I think, but we thankfully we both acknowledge to the other where we are at with everything going on. And we have been able to be respectful of each other.
Yeah. It's not always easy. I mean,
no.
we've kind of, we always try to be this way with one another, but the higher the stress, the easier it is to argue. And we had kind of gone through some cycles of just arguing, making up, arguing.
Yeah.
And I think now, and it won't necessarily stay this way, but for right now, we're very much in the, if we let ourselves get too stressed out and frustrated, we will be at each other's throats. So let's go the opposite direction and just have even more open, honest communication. But that's a good thing. That's a mature thing. I'm happy about it. I still hate that fucking P word of patience.
I know.
Because I would like all of our problems solved yesterday. Thanks.
Well, because some of these problems have been hanging with us for years.
Literal
at this point,
years, yeah.
Yeah. And, so, yeah. And it drags on you.
So, yeah, no solutions from us, but just if it helps you to have it acknowledged. And I think it does help. I think it is helpful if you have a partner who will listen to you and, even if they can't relate completely because maybe they're in a different headspace or they just see things differently, if they can just respect that this is how you see it, I think that can be helpful.
Yeah.
So glad we ate lunch before we did this because I would be starving right now if we
Same.
didn't. I'm out of coffee. My throat hurts.
I'm almost out of coffee. But yeah, we are learning and changing and adjusting as necessary. And
I know, I keep telling myself that when we get to the other side of this very long descent into madness, I hope that we keep the skills that we've developed. Like, it's when things get good, it's real easy to just go, we have less to worry about. So a lot of these things that you've been doing to mitigate the worry are unnecessary. And I just hope that we remember the lessons that we have learned through this tough time. And also, the closeness, the skills, the communication, all that. So, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. We should probably stop talking now. We've been doing this for a very long time. It's almost 2 hours, or it is 2 hours, depending on...
considering we started at
noon.
11:50.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. We're 1 minute off from being 2 hours long.
I would love to lie to a new person and go, no, it's not always like this. But I'm not going to lie to you if you're new here.
Yeah. And that's true, Kitty. Validation can mean more than the solutions. Just validating someone's feelings
I think
is big.
We all want to be seen and heard and understood in whatever way that means. And when you can genuinely have that, especially since sometimes it is so difficult to have, it's meaningful. I just am a very action-oriented human being, and if I see the problem and know the fix, I would like the fix to happen yesterday. Because why else come up with a fucking fix? Also, I would like all problems to have a solution. I am very tired of having problems with no clear solution. Anyway.
Okay.
We're going to
go. Thanks for joining us and being here with us. And
if you're here at this point,
for
hanging in there to the bitter end. We'll be back next week.
And some of you will see Friday night.
Game night on the Patreon. If you're in the $5 and higher tiers, you can join us. Okay.
All right.
We're going to go.
Bye.
Bye.